And welcome back to the Breakout from Burnout podcast. This is the Triumph Over Burnout Mum series. And my name is Aisha Mohammed and I am your host. I'm also a certified life coach and I help women in business strike balance between their personal life and their business. And I created this podcast. Why? Because whilst doing some market research and speaking to lots of mums, and also while speaking and working with my clients, I found that there was a need for some further education and awareness on this thing called burnout, okay? The thing is, many mums, women in general, they don't really realize when they are in a state of burnout, or sometimes it's when they're looking back, that they realize what was actually going on with them and that they were indeed burnt out. And that was my story. As a stay-at-home mom with 3 children, all under the age of 5, I didn't quite feel myself. I felt quite detached from the people, places, and things that I love to do, suffered from overwhelm, anxiety. I was a bit isolated, to be honest. And it's only when I look back and after speaking with these women, I actually realized, wow, that was actually your time of burnout. And it happens to so many of us. And so I decided to do this podcast to do exactly that, to educate, raise awareness on the fact that this condition is real and it does very much exist. And it used to be very much germane to the office. It's about professional women and men who burn out in the office. But no. It has transcended into everyday life with the incidents that, happen in life, whether multiple children, whether it's moving home, whether it's a loss of job, whether it's ill health or having to become a caregiver or breaking up from a marriage or relationship. These are some of the things that will hurl you into burnout and so many more. Each woman's experience of burnout is different. And I found that many women also burn out multiple times. So therefore, this podcast is very much needed, and please share it with those of whom you know it will help. So I'm here today with a wonderful woman who I came across on social media, and her name is Leticia, and she's also a fellow coach. And I'm going to ask you, Leticia, welcome, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. Tell the people, who is Leticia?
Hello, everyone. I am Leticia Francis, the owner of Black Rose Coaching. I am a business mindset coach dedicated to help Black women transition out of unfulfilling leadership roles into full-time coaching, by helping them create offer suites that surpass their current salary so that they can have the freedom that they desire and deserve. And I'm super happy to be here today to share my story with you.
Excellent. And thank you so much for doing so. It's an absolute honor. So tell me, how did your burnout show up in your life?
So I spent 5 years working as the catastrophe data manager for a top five Lloyds of London syndicate. And I got pregnant. And during my pregnancy, I was a one woman team running a multinational team that I built myself, that I trained myself, that I managed myself. All of the processes that the team operated were my own processes that I developed. And as a result of that, I was very emotionally attached to my role. Before my babies, this was my baby. And because all of my blood, sweat, and tears went into it. I went on maternity leave with my first daughter, and I wasn't replaced. So for 10 months, no work, literally no work got done. And when I came back, I had to clean it up. And I was probably very bitter about that. But because this is my baby, this is my work. Like, this is not the company's work. This is my intellectual property. I felt compelled to do what I needed to do. Coupled with my conditioning that as a Black woman, I need to show up and do twice as much for half as much, which was literally my reality. I was getting a quarter of my manager's pay, I later found out, and half of what the industry was getting for the role that I was working. But I went in and I did the work. They leaned on me heavily because I got things done. Fast forward 6 months after returning from my first maternity leave, I found out I'm pregnant again. And I immediately went into panic mode because I'm still cleaning up mess from my first pregnancy. So my entire second pregnancy was spent trying to clean up and circumvent any possible shit shows, for lack of a better term. And that created an immense amount of stress for me being pregnant. I had health issues in my pregnancy, which were compiled by what was going on at work, because I never had a day without stress. Like, my husband used to laugh, but literally by 9:30, I'm cursing, angry, because I'm constantly having to deal with things, right? But I didn't have anybody who I could create a scapegoat out of. I was a one woman team that a lot of other teams fed off from me. So it's either I did the work or the work didn't get done, which created, I think, when I look back at it, this unhealthy relationship with work for me. I see it throughout my entire career that whenever things got really, really busy at work, my health went out the window, like high blood pressure. I remember one day, before I found out I was pregnant with my second daughter, I go into the nurse at my job, and she's telling me, "You are literally a stroke victim. Like, you're a walking stroke victim in this moment. Your blood pressure is so high." She would not let me go back to my desk. But of course, I got things to do. I got calls to answer. I've got meetings to attend. I don't have time to lay on your couch, ma'am. I got responsibilities. And because of the conditioning that I grew up in, that I don't really have the space to pause as a Black woman, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So fast forward it, I'm 8 or 9 months pregnant. probably 8 months pregnant, and I'm incredibly sick. And I cannot understand why I'm so sick. And I
Mm.
speak to my doctor, and she was like, well, what type of work do you do? Because, pregnancy is stressful, but you are under a lot of stress. What type of work do you do? And I was telling her, and she was like, no, we literally had to write you off from work. Like, got written off from work and still not knowing how to decompress from that. You're still checking emails to make sure that the replacement that they hired is actually doing their job. But 6 hours after giving birth to my second child, um, after having a 3.5 hour C-section, I received an email on my personal email account from someone at my job, acknowledging the birth of my child and then proceeding to ask me about work. And it pissed me off in the worst way. That birthed my business, because I was like,
Okay.
I cannot continue. Like, I see the evidence of how much this has impacted my health while I'm pregnant. And they
Mm.
don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally having blackout headaches being 6 months pregnant, but still having to answer emails, still having to, you know, um, clean up your mess and babysit, right? I was a glorified babysitter for grown people. But receiving that email while I was literally still recovering really set a fire under my feet. Like, I cannot continue to do this. Like, it's impacting my health, it's impacting my happiness, it's impacting my relationships, because the only people that have to deal with the anger that comes as a result of the work that I'm doing is my family. Like, I
Right.
can't go off on my boss. So I go off on the people that are around me because I'm absolutely frustrated. So I made the decision to start my business when my daughter was literally hours old, and I'm got an 18 month. And I built my business breastfeeding on the couch with my phone in my hand, taking care of my other child. I had time to do it though, right? So it didn't seem like a lot of pressure. But by the time I got back to work, it was Groundhog's Day again. I came back to the exact same situation, even though this time they hired a replacement. But now the urge to leave is even stronger, because initially it was like, I'll just go back, I'll make enough money in my business until I can leave, right? Until I
Yeah.
replace my income. But now I'm realizing, like, these people literally don't give a crap about me. They don't give a crap about my health. They don't give a crap about my relationship at home, because they haven't done anything in my absence. It's like literally to me to clean it up. But being the person that
Mhm.
I am, with the conditioning that I have, right? That's what you do. You go in, you show up, you don't fail. But that created a huge problem for me, because this time I have two babies, a business, trying to clean up the mess of the corporate plantation. And
Mm.
I was doing it because now I'm super desperate. I need this business to work. I need this business to make some money, because I need to get off the plantation. I need to leave this place. So I went hard, like super hard, like sleep. Nope, nobody got time for that. I got goals. And, you know, when you have things to do, you have to be prepared to sacrifice sleep here and there. You have to be prepared to, prioritize your goals. But I was doing it in an unhealthy way. I watched my mother, who has two master's degrees, who juggled raising children while being the department head. She lived on 2 or 3 hours of sleep, because that's what you need to do in order to achieve your goals. And I need my sleep. Anybody that knows me will tell you I am no good without any sleep. Like, it's like waking a hibernating bird, right? Like, me without sleep is dangerous. I could see that, but my conditioning told me that if this is something that I wanted, I have to neglect my health. I had to neglect my sleep. I had to neglect everything in order to make it happen. So that's what I did. I would show up to work, I do all the things, clean up all the messes that were created for me, and then go and do the exact same thing at home. Clean up all the messes, take care of the children, and find time to show up online, to coach my clients, to do all of this. So literally within 3 months of returning back to work, I got to a place where I literally couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't do anything for myself. And up till that time, burnout was an urban legend. Burnout was what white people say, and I'm being honest, what white people say to get out of their responsibilities, right? Like it's not real. Black people don't experience it, right? Like we are built differently. So yeah, that burnout just a fluff word until I literally couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't think. Like there was clouds, like literally I could not form a thought that would help me move forward. And I remember talking to my coach, like I've never been in this place where I physically can't do anything. I want to, I need,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot get out of bed. I cannot do anything. I'm resentful of having to mother my children. I'm resentful of anybody asking me one single question because in this moment, I feel so incapable. And my coach said to me, sounds like you're burnt out. And I remember saying to her, girl, please. Black people don't burn out, girl. But that was my reality. And I had to face it. And I had to really stop and be like, okay, you heard for years your blood pressure is a problem because of the stress that you've been dealing with. You need more sleep. You need to exercise. How do I make time for this if I'm always busy? And I'm not lazy. I'm not lazy. So if something's got to get done, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
I realized in that moment that that it sounds so cliche. If you ever gotten on a plane, it tells you in order for you to take care of somebody else, you need to take care of yourself. Do not put your mask on anybody else until you put it on yourself. And in that moment, while I'm laid up in bed, literally can't do anything, that was the moment I learned to ask for help. Because in that moment, I realized I didn't put my mask on. I'm here trying to put out everybody else's fire. And the oxygen ran out. Like literally ran out. So from that moment on, with my coach, I really started working on prioritizing, right? Like not everything needs to get done today. Not everything needs to get done today. And it's okay if in this moment I prioritize me. Because here I am, keeping it real, doing all of these things, particularly for that corporate plantation, that when I eventually resign, they hired somebody that same day, boo. Okay? They replaced me that same day.
Hard
I'm
lesson.
sleep over this job. I'm getting irritable with my husband and my children over this job. And they showed me in that moment that I am so replaceable. They replaced me before the ink was dry. And that was a big lesson for me. So now my focus is more on being intentional with my actions. It's not always about being results driven. It's
Mm.
about knowing that everything that I do has a purpose that is driving me towards my goals, not anybody else's goals, me towards my own. That is something that I had to learn because what I saw growing up was that I sacrificed everything for the people around me, and that's how I show my love. I love you, boo.
Ooh. Let
But
me just
love
stop you
me
there.
more.
Let me just stop you there. Listen, the way you have broken down your story. I don't have to ask you any questions. You have covered so much of what I have found. As women, Black women in particular, we will watch the strong matriarch of the family do it all. And then we try and do the same. And in this modern day time, we're just finding that we can't. We just can't do it. We have, in a sense, possibly more stresses in this time than what they did in many different ways. And that's what we find. We try to emulate the strong matriarch, the mom, grandma, auntie, and we find that we just can't. The mind says, I'm gonna keep going, until one day the body says, nah, you ain't. And the fact that in the corporate world, there are many different stresses that a Black woman will encounter, okay? Because we grow up getting told that we have to be the best of the best, 10 times better. We know some of the prejudices that are there, so therefore we go in wanting to overperform and overgive and end up with all these different stresses in just trying to be the best of the best, only to find that you are easily, replaceable, and it's a good thing that it was just the fact that, you resigned and didn't have a heart attack and die, because this is the thing, that does happen. Burnout is something that can decrease your life expectancy because of these diseases, such as hypertension, diabetes, and such like. And these are real serious things. And, in being Black, African, Caribbean people, we are more susceptible to these diseases. And a lot of the time it's to do with the environment, because you cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. And this is what got revealed to you in your burnout story and experience. And even how you described how it affected your relationship. What I'm dealing with is helping moms find balance when they're building their business between doing that and their family life. And when burnout creeps in, it can put a great load of tension on your, relationship with your partner or your spouse. But then you also spoke about the feelings of frustration and even resentment when it came to your mothering. You've been blessed with children, but all these other pressures kind of gets things out of alignment, order. So that thing which is supposed to be beautiful, that you're supposed to immerse yourself in, now becomes an issue, So in resigning and saying you're going to build your business, which is something that you've gone on and have done and are doing, is so empowering, because sometimes women feel that they don't have a choice. You get into these jobs and then you build a lifestyle around that. And it can be very scary when you think of building your business, what's going to happen to paying the mortgage and the car note and, the lifestyle that I've come to appreciate and love, all these real concerns. But you took the leap,
And I just want to say, my biggest fear when I left was being homeless, right? Like, I remember sitting on a call with my coach, literally crying that if I do this, I am going to end up outside of a Tesco Express, shaking a tin can for somebody's coins, wrapped up in a blanket with my children. Like, literally, that was like, I can't walk away from this security. And I'm going to say this. I was actually faced with homelessness not too long ago, getting ready to apply for emergency housing. My worst case scenario came true.
Wow.
However, there is an opportunity in everything, right? Everything, there is an opportunity. And That's what I've learned through this process. When I was in on the corporate plantation, I had become a victim of my circumstance. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to deal with this because
Mm.
the alternative is being outside that Tesco's Express. But giving myself an opportunity to rewrite my narrative and
Right.
flip that narrative that there is an opportunity in every problem that we face,
Exactly.
it was so freeing. So, yes, faced with homelessness, I
Mm.
made a choice different because I didn't want to go back to what that would look like, right? I could have easily gotten a job, right? I could have easily went back to being a shepherd for someone else's sheep. But
Mm.
I chose me because that burnout was so real for me that it has
Mm.
literally created a trauma response. I
Mm.
will not go back to anyone's plantation. And I think for me, that was the most freeing thing. It was the biggest lesson that I thought that this is what I needed in order for me to have what I wanted in life. I thought I needed to put myself in what, if you really look at it, it was like an abusive relationship that I was getting paid for, right? I was
Mm.
undervalued, disrespected, underpaid, and I still showed up and did all the things that I needed to do for these people rather than taking a gamble on myself and showing up for me and creating the life that I wanted, not the one that society expects me to step into and the role that society expects me to fill as a Black woman. I'm creating my own path, and I'm grateful for the burnout because that was what really made me see, wait a minute, I'm literally killing myself for this plantation. While my dreams, my hopes, my desires are sitting on the shelf. So for me, the biggest thing is it was a lesson in that moment that literally changed my life.
Awesome. Awesome. And, there's something about living more of a purposeful life, reasons to get up out of the bed in the morning. There's something godlike, if you like, in charting your own course, designing the life that you want to live, you know. Um, that is awesome. We only live once. And why live it in a way whereby you feel totally constrained and like you can't be yourself and, put upon it just doesn't make any sense. You have to break out from that that we've been told, which is you go to school, go to college, go to university, um, get a great job or career, get married, have 2.5 children, and then you end up in this boring routine of going to work, coming back home with like nothing to give anyone really, cooking the dinner, having a bit of conversation, bit of playtime with the children, homework or whatever, off to bed, maybe watch a movie or whatever, bit of sex, maybe go to bed and wake up and do it all again the next day. And this becomes life. You might have a holiday or two in between, but come on.
It's the expectation that you start living after you retire, when you're too old and broken to enjoy it.
I
Nonsense.
tell you,
It's
I tell
nonsense.
you, no, that is not life. And
No.
when you become heightened to the fact that there's a reason why you're here on the planet, there is a purpose that you're here to fulfill, you do owe it to yourself to really get to know yourself, and go on that journey of growth and development and living life to the fullest and learning to be present and appreciate the now and not get stuck in the past and not get stuck in projecting, the future, so that you're not present to enjoy every moment, every hour, every day of your life, and be able to drink it all in and be in that space of gratitude, you know, for living, being here, being able to express and to do and to enjoy. We're not just here to slave and not actually get some enjoyment out of life. So burnout can indeed be a blessing, because it's often the turning point in the lives of every woman that I've spoken to. They've managed to go to deeper levels of self-exploration, you know, find themselves and be on that road of fulfilling their purpose through service to others. This is a thread that I'm finding. So yeah, there is purpose behind the burnout. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us and telling your story in the way that you did. You are a great storyteller. And, you know, where can people find you if they want to keep in touch?
I split my time between Instagram and LinkedIn, but most of the time I'm on Instagram, so you can reach out to me at Black Rose Coaching on Instagram. Stop in, say hi. I like a little chat, so let me know. Say hi.
Awesome. Awesome. And likewise, you can find me here on Facebook under my personal profile, which I'm very active on, which is Aisha Muhammad, or on the business page, which is Burnout Coach Aisha Muhammad. You can also type in Burnout Coach for Mums in Biz, and you will find me there. One-to-one coaching and free resources, tips. I also do a free weekly training inside my community group for women in business who are wanting to strike balance in building their business and family life, and that is the Breakout from Burnout support group for moms in business. So stop by and say hi. And thank you so much for joining us. And I'll be back next week with another awesome, brilliant, phenomenal mom who will be sharing their story of burnout. So until next time, take care.
Bye.